Patissasamuppada, dependent origination. Talk number 4. Consciousness and mind and matter. Vijnana Pichya Nama Rupam. Consciousness as condition, mind and matter arises. In this dependent origination talks, you will hear a lot of words. Pali words mostly is one or maybe two, but translated into English, many people translate it with many different words. So just to have a rounded presentation, I'll repeat many names in English so that when one is reading or studying, and if you come across different words, you will know that it refers to the same Pali word, and they are one and the same. This talk or discourses on the dependent origination discourses more on a theory side, but one who is practicing can really connect or bridge this theory and the practice. And we'll go through the bridging of theory and practice at the end as well. But if you are not practicing, it will be a bit difficult to understand this discourse. Today, Vijnana Pichya Nama Rupam. Consciousness as condition, mind and matter arise. Is the third link of this dependent origination. In the second link, if you remember, sankhara, karma formation or mental formation is the direct conditioning factor or the producer or the cause of vijnana, arising of vijnana. Vijnana is the direct conditioned cause, direct conditioned product. Direct conditioned product or effect. Sankhara, karma formation is the cause. Vijnana, consciousness is the effect. And their link is direct. One is the producer and one is the product. But in this third link, both consciousness, which is the conditioning factor, and the mind and matter, which is the conditioned product or conditioned factor, both arises together. It is not one before the other and one conditioning the other. In this third link, both the conditioning factor and conditioned factor arises together at the same time. However, consciousness or vijnana is said to be the leader in this particular case and plays a supporting relationship instead of being a direct producer. Vijnana consciousness does not produce directly mind and matter because they arise together and act as a supporting mode or supportive condition for the arising of mind and matter. So this vijnana, consciousness in the third link is different from the consciousness in the second link. Don't think automatically due to ignorance. Okay? Karma formation arises. Karma formation due to karma formation. Okay? Consciousness arises. And due to consciousness, mind and matter arises. In that flow, it seems like consciousness, vijnana is the same. But when you look deeper into the nature of this operation, you will find they are not exactly the same. So, the word vijnana in the second link and the word vijnana or the consciousness in the third link, they are not exactly the same. So, in the second link, consciousness, it refers specifically to the resultant consciousness. Resultant consciousness produced by the sankhara karma formation, direct, or resultant consciousness. But when we say the word resultant consciousness, it includes relinking consciousness, or relinking consciousness, or birth consciousness. In Pali, it's called Patichande Citta, relinking or birth consciousness. And also, you can call it a life continuum or constituents of life consciousness. Life continuum consciousness or constituents of life consciousness. And the Pali word is called bhavinga. It's two different terms. One is Patichande Citta, birth consciousness or relinking consciousness. The second one is bhavinga, life continuum consciousness or constituents of life consciousness, which is the constituents of life. And all the bhavinga consciousness, the same bhavinga consciousness, but all bhavinga consciousness that is arising and passing away throughout one's whole life, except the last one. The last one is called death consciousness. Chuti Jeta. So, all these Bhavinga Jeta, life continuing consciousness that arise right after the birth consciousness and then arises and passes with throughout the whole life, is called thereafter consciousness or Paviti Jeta. In other words, after the birth consciousness and everything before the death consciousness. Between those two, they are all called Paviti Jeta. Okay. And if you remember the last talk, all these relinking consciousness, birth consciousness, Bhavinga consciousness, life continuum, and death consciousness, they are identical in nature. They are separate one from the other, but identical in nature. So in the third link, depending on the conditions or the situation, okay, it may be a resultant consciousness. When we say vijnana consciousness, it may be resultant consciousness, or it may be a non-resultant consciousness. What is non-resultant consciousness? In other words, it's called karma-producing consciousness. It may be resulting consciousness, or it may be karma-producing consciousness, or in other words, it is the consciousness with volitional activities. Consciousness with volitional activities. In other words, karma-producing consciousness. And this consciousness with volitional activities operates when sankhara, karma formation, is in full bloom. Or it could be all assorted consciousness. So there are three types. One is resultant, one is non-resultant, and the third one is assorted. Whenever you say consciousness in the third link, it will represent one of those three types. So it has a wider scope on the types of consciousness than the second link. The third link has the wider scope of types of consciousness than the second link. So basically these are, we need to memorize it and understand it. What the difference are, what is identical, what is not identical. They sound the same. Sometimes they are presented with the same word, but when you study deeper and deeper, you will see the difference in details. So that is the consciousness, vijnana, conditioning factor. Okay. So let's see the second part, conditioned factor. So what is the conditioned factor in this link? It's mind and matter, nama rupa. Nama is mind, rupa is body, mind and body, or mind and matter, or mind and form, nama rupa. Conditioned factor is mind and matter. So in here is mind. The Pali word is nama. So whenever the word nama pops up in the scripture, it is a very specific meaning. Okay? Whenever you say nama, it represents or it covers one, citta, consciousness. Consciousness is nama. And two, cetasika, mental formations. Mental formations is also nama, cetasika. And the third is nibbana or nirvana. That is also nama. So when you see a word nama, it could be all of them, it could be one of them, depending on the context of what you are reading or studying. Okay, nibbana is the extinctions of all form of suffering. So nibbana is beyond the rounds of rebirth. Beyond the rounds of rebirth. And what we are talking, dependent origination, is about the rounds or the cycle of rebirth. So we would not be discussing or talking about nibbana in here, independent origination. So nibbana is out of this discussion. And dependent origination, as we said, it is about the rounds of rebirth. So nama in this third link refers only to citta, consciousness, and cetasika, mental formation, citta and cetasika, consciousness and mental formation. This is what we are talking about in this third link. What is the third link in Pali? Vijnana Pichya Nama Rupam. Also, consciousness is already taken in as a conditioning factor. Okay? Consciousness is the condition, mind and matter is the product or arises or conditioned factor. So, in other words, this nama here is consciousness and mental factors. But consciousness is already taking in the position of a conditioning factor. So, it's simple. What is the conditioned factor? Conditioned factor of the nama is only cetasika, mental formation. So in this third link, when you say nama, you must understand nama as the 52 mental formations. They are altogether 52. So specifically, that's what we are referring to when we say nama in this third link. So, we now know what is vijnana in the third link, consciousness. What is nama in the third link, 52 mental formations. Now, rupa. What is rupa? Rupa is translated as materiality, material phenomenon, form, body, matter. These are the English words. Okay? So this rupa, materiality, is divided into 28 parts by the Buddha. And out of that 28, 4 are called primaries. Okay? Primaries. In other words, primary qualities of materiality or matter. In Pali, it is called Mahabhuta, primary qualities of material or matter. And the remaining 24 arises dependent on these 4 primary qualities. The remaining 24 cannot arise if there is no 4 primary qualities. That's why it's called dependent qualities or dependent materiality. And we will discuss about these 4 primaries and 24 dependent qualities in the next link. But for now, this will be sufficient. So we now know what is vijnana consciousness is, what is Dhamma, specifically 52 mental formations, and what is rupa, 28 material qualities of matter. Now, consciousness. And when we say consciousness, we already know in this third link, this is mind. Consciousness in terms of mind. Okay. When you say consciousness, in this particular case, it is vijnana. When we say mind, it is the combination of mind is a combination of consciousness and mental factors. Sounds the same, looks the same, but they are somewhat slightly different. And here you need to know with precision. So consciousness, vijnana, what are they? We talk about there. One is a resultant consciousness, another one is a non-resultant consciousness, and the third one is the assorted consciousness. Okay. These, one of the 3, or simply vijnana, is the supportively conditioned. It conditioned, but in a supportive way. Supportively condition the 52 mental factors, nama. Okay. They condition the nama, but in a supportive way, not direct way. 52 mental formations and the 4 primary material properties and 24 dependent material properties. That's what they condition. We now know more specifically. I'll repeat again. Resultant consciousness or non-resultant consciousness or a mixture or assorted consciousness condition nama, 52 mental factors, and rupa, 4 primaries and 24 dependent material qualities. So now we know a little more detailed, more precise understanding of what it's mean by consciousness conditioned. Consciousness as conditions, mind and matter arises. And also, just for information, this rupa, materiality, we said it is conditioned by the vijnana, mind, or karma. But it can also be produced by other means. This rupa can be produced by the mind. This rupa materiality can also be produced by the temperature or utu, climate. Climate means temperature, pressure, humidity. But simply we just put temperature because temperature controls the content of humidity. Temperature also is related to pressure. Just to simplify that, let's call it temperature. Material can be born out of temperature. Material can be born out of mind. Material can be born out of karmic activities. And also material can be born out of food, nutrition. There are four causes of the arising of the materiality or matter. But in this specific link, we are talking only about vijnana, consciousness, which produce as a supportive condition. Just a little extra to understand about the mind, natures of mind and matter. So, as the conditioning factors involve both resultant and non-resultant consciousness, we need to know, or we need to look into what is the relinking moment, what is involved in the relinking moment, in other words, birth moment. And also as thereafter, what is after, what happened after that relinking moment throughout the life. And if you study in details, you will understand more so. That itself is a long talks by itself. So I'll leave it to you. Study more about what happened at the relinking moment and what happened after the relinking moment. To fully understand relinking consciousness, okay, first of all, we need to know different kinds of birth. There are different kinds of birth. Okay? According to Buddhism, the first one is, I will be talking more on a point form. It's called moisture-born. Sansedaja, moisture-born. There are beings born simply out of moisture. To give an example, let's say you leave a doormat, okay, during the raining season, and then one day you just lifted up that doormat. There will be little insects out of moisture. You go and look into the basement at the dark corner where there's a moisture in it. You will see insects. These little insects are born out of moisture, moisture-born. That's one kind of birth. Another one is called egg-born. Egg-born. Andaja. A-N-D-H-A-J-A. J-A, and the ja. That's simple. Birds, egg born. Fish, egg spawn. Tortoise, egg borns. You can figure out yourself. That is another type of birth. And the third type of birth is called spontaneous born. Called Upapatika. Upa. Patika. What is a spontaneous born? In general, you can call it a celestial being. And Buddhist word, we call it Deva, beings of light, brilliant beings, beings of light. Or in others, you can call it angels. Those are instant born. They don't have to stay in the womb and grow from the youth to the birth. They are instantly born as a mature being. Or Brahma, the higher beings. Those are instant born, spontaneous. And the fourth one is called womb born. Okay. Jala Puja. Jala Puja. Warm born. That's simple for us. We know it's a human. Humans are born out of womb. It stays in the mother's womb. And there are some animals too, I believe. Those are womb born, the human. And as Buddha is teaching, most of the Buddhist teachings are emphasized for the human beings. So we'll discuss about the human birth. Okay. Human birth. The birth of a human from the Buddhist perspective start at conception. The moment that you are conceived, that's the birth. Not when a person comes out of the womb or out of the mother's body. That's not the birth. The moment of conception is birth. From Buddhist perspective. So according to Abhidhamma translated as higher teaching, okay, at conception, at the moment of conception, there's the resultant or relinking consciousness. Patichande Jeta, resultant or relinking consciousness. And a number of mental factors. There are some mental factors, not only the consciousness, some mental factors based on your past activities. I think they are programmed in. And also, 30 kinds of material qualities. Okay. That will take a thesis by itself to discuss about it. 30 kinds of material qualities as a result of the sankhara, karma formation that you have done in the past life. So at the moment of conception, not one arises, another arises, another arises. 3 arises altogether. First of all is the relinking consciousness. Second is some mental factors. And the third is, let's call it matter or materiality. But they are very specific. There are 30 kinds that arises. And it is all due to sankhara, karma formation that you have done in the past life. But in this third link, okay, consciousness is not as a act as a producer. In this third link, consciousness, vijnana, is a act as a supportive condition. Supportive condition for the mind and matter to arise. So, even though we say pichaya because of due to condition, there's many different little ways of supporting. The obvious one is direct producer, second one is supportive. Why? Let's see the nature of the law of the mind and matter. Consciousness, whenever we say consciousness, a consciousness arises. Consciousness cannot arise by itself. It has to arise together with some mental factors. Citta and Cetasika arises together. Consciousness and mental factors arises together. And also, this consciousness and the materiality, one of those 30 material quality, one is called heart-based material quality. So specifically, we call it a heart-based materiality. Consciousness and materiality are also reciprocally dependent on each other. In other words, for the consciousness to arise, it needs this heart-based material. Without the heart-based material, consciousness cannot arise. And also, heart-based materiality exists because of the arising of consciousness, vijnana, reciprocal dependency. That's a nature. So, in other words, if you look at both of them, one is consciousness cannot arise without mental factors. Another one is reciprocally dependent, consciousness and heart-based or material. So you can call it all those three arises together. And what are all those three? One is the conditioning factor, vijnana, and the other two is the conditioned factor, mind and matter. They all arises together because that is the mental law, niyama, citta niyama. But in this group of three, consciousness is said to be the leader. Okay? Said to be the leader in this third link. Consciousness is a leader because it acts as a supportive condition for mind and matter to arise, even though they all arises together. That's a short explanation for what supportive condition means. So, hopefully this clarifies the meaning of supported mode conditioning. Why? Because they have a mutuality and reciprocal in nature between consciousness, mind, and matter. And this principle is true for all 5 aggregates being, Pinchak Khanda. 5 aggregate beings, this formula is precise. But there are also in this universe mind-only beings and then body-only beings. Beings with only mind, beings with only body. Very rare, of course, but they do exist. For those mind beings and material or body-only beings, this formula can be rewritten as consciousness is the condition, mind is the effect. Or consciousness is the condition, body is the effect for those type. But the rest, consciousness is the condition, mind and body is the effect. So if you look at it, avijja picchaya sankhara, ignorance is the condition and karma formation is the effect, arises. Sankhara picchaya vijnana, sankhara is the conditioning factor and relinking consciousness is the effect. Vijnana picchaya nama rupam, consciousness is the conditioning factor, mind and matter is the effect. But as the consciousness, mind and matter arises all together, we can safely say sankhara, mental formation, karma formation is the cause or conditioning factor. And vijnana, consciousness, mind, nama, matter, rupa is the effect. Mental formation is the cause, consciousness, mind and matter is the effect. Thus we can understand, and it is correct and true. With that, we will complete this third link. May all of you be able to understand the discourse on dependent origination, and may you be able to connect or bridge with your practice and understand in a more deeper and profound way as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.